Hello, and welcome to the Mantic Podcast. I'm, of course, Matt, and I'm joined by Ronnie.
Now, I'm typing here because I need everybody to listen to this podcast because we've got to beat Dave, who is currently in first place.
Dave the Lawmaster.
Dave the Lawmaster has to be beaten this podcast. So I'm just posting, listen to me and help keep and get Dave off first place.
Ever since that Monday meeting where I announced who has the top spot.
Correct, it's become very competitive. So it's now competitive podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave in first place.
And so we asked you on YouTube and Instagram for questions that you need Ronnie to answer, because of course everyone else has a bit tighter lips.
That's right. Leaking. I've just promised that. There you go. So
and
link.
And so I asked you on Facebook and Instagram. And basically, we've collated them into a sort of semi-sensible list.
I'm prepared. So my tissue of lies are ready to share.
And if you have any questions, so if you're watching this live on YouTube at 12 o'clock on a Friday, feel free to ask any questions and we'll try and get to them at the end. And if you're listening to this on a Monday, then you've got to get on it. Start listening on the Friday.
Well, surely every question that everyone could possibly want to ask will have been answered.
Definitely.
That's definitely what it's going to be.
I've got Facebook open, and we're going to see how much of a catastrophe I can make this. And so first though, there are a lot of comments about DreadBall. So, is there anything coming up? Is there second edition for a DreadBall Extreme?
DreadBall Extreme, yeah. So I mean, DreadBall's kind of got into a nice status quo at the moment. It's got the fans it's got. A few years ago, it was absolutely going crazy, remember? And I think I probably, I don't know, it plateaued out and then started to taper off. And it's been hard to lift it back up to those highs that make sense.
Yeah.
I think the problem is there isn't a clamour for more teams. There's enough teams, and balancing as many as there is hard. But it is still just a phenomenal game. We've just done a big DreadBall tournament here at HQ. We put the tickets up 2 days ago, sold out. So we're going to unlock a few more seats, hopefully. But there's some real love for it. We like it. DreadBall Extreme Second Edition. I mean, not current plans. There was someone asking, at least get a PDF up. I think it's one of those. It kind of needs to be a fan-led thing. We're more than happy to share.
Yeah.
The RC are always constantly balancing, and they're all kind of busy. And Extreme is quite a different game than DreadBall itself. So I know we've got Ultimate all sat there, and we should probably do something with that. So at the moment, I think DreadBall is chunking along. We have some fun with it every time the Super Bowl comes around. It always bubbles up to our top of our, don't watch that rubbish, play a real game.
And still consistently popular when we do those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, great for clubs, great for people starting board gaming and everything else. What we don't seem to be able to get to is that core and growing community where it's going from 50 to 100 to 200 to 300 and the tournament's getting bigger and everything else. Seems to have plateaued. And so at the moment we don't quite know what to do with it. We'll always do a little bit here and there, but at the moment it's kind of in a holding pattern.
Okay.
But they've still got RC and they're still chunking stuff out.
Fantastic. And of course it's not meant to be about Kings of War.
Yeah.
So let me find the question I was reading before. So because it was about
what's the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the plan for Kings? I mean, obviously, Kings of War releases are every month. And because Vanguard and Kings of War are so symbiotic, they kind of one feeds the other and vice versa. So, I mean, just to give you an example, people like, we've set ourselves the objectives of a couple of nice new armies. So, Northern Alliance went from a Vanguard faction into a complete army with 3rd edition. Abyssal Dwarfs, Hard Plastics, which are coming out next month.
Yeah.
They were a Vanguard faction last month. That gives you some hero models. It gives you some opportunity to sculpt, and then some of the big stuff become regiments of large infantry or what have you. So, and this is when you look at the Abyssal Dwarves, which is an army release where we're really going in, and I almost see that as a new army in some way, because until it's got hard plastic, it isn't an army. Northern Irons is proper new. But then, actually, we've also, and there's a couple of questions later on, and as we're heading ahead, that was the plan, but we're infilling. So the next month we've got Archfiends and the Well of Souls. Not next month, month after. So April, Abyssal Dwarfs. May, Archfiend and the Well of Souls. Bringing the Archfiend back, but putting in the Well of Souls. It's been a model that's been in the army list for years. It's never been made. Here it is now. Great sculpt, coming out in resin, lovely stuff.
It's looking absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Month after, Night Stalkers, where we've got the Soul Flayers and we've got the Dreadfiend. So we're filling in those gaps that people say they need, and we do want to get round to, so that you can do 100% Mantic.
Yeah.
You can theme your whole army and complete out that bit. And people sometimes wait to start painting an army until those last couple of models that they want are there, because it's hard to come back and so we're doing that. Some of the things that following month, Northern Alliance in May, that were in the Mega Army deal, we've now put those out, so now we can go back and release them individually. Ice Naiads, Frostfang, so on and so forth.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah. Ogres, June. So we've got Grokodogs, we've got Ogres coming out in Vanguard, so that's where we're doing that cross-pollination stuff. And Siege Breakers, that's mostly so that Nick Williams, who's just painted a load, is really upset that we've now got official Mantic Siege Breakers, which are much nicer than the ones he did. So yeah, you can see there running through month after month, backfilling armies, putting Vanguard factions out, which are also giving you hero figures or regiment figures, large infantry figures for your red armies. Occasionally, every quarter or so, an army. So Abyssal Dwarfs following on from Northern Alliance. And then coming summer, there's going to be the summer book. Summer books are generally more flavour, more fluff, more fun. We test out the rules. So it's not for your competitive Clash of Kings book. That's December. That hits for the season. That's to make sure that everything's balanced and pulls it all in. Super hardcore. Summer book fluff, background, things we want to try out, different ways to play or introducing different elements. And this one's all about magic.
Ooh,
and there's
I've heard a little bit about that.
Yeah, people been saying, what's that number 4 on your Magis as well? All will be explained in the summer book. It's going to be a time of high magic. There's going to be a big campaign, big summer campaign. Gobbos, new hard plastics for Gobbos.
There's always Gobbos.
Got to be done that. And there may be a little, kind of cheese eating kind of theme coming along in hard plastic as well, following on. So there's good stuff. There's a lot, and then we've got backfilling, and then come summer we're going to hit it again and hit it fun, and we're going to be having all those that collect for fun and want to play big battles, and it's not super competitive. They'll be welcome. There's going to be lots of
something for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, and lots of magic and good fun. So a lot of great things happening for Kings of War.
Sounds great. If you missed those ogres, watch the previous open day with Martin, because we teased some of those ogre minis. So you can take a look at those. They're
absolutely beautiful.
Oh, absolutely amazing.
So
another army I'm getting.
Another, exactly. Well, that's
and just sort of touching on Kings of War, EasyArmy.
EasyArmy next week. So it's been a bit later than we wanted it to be, but we were trying to work with Greg just to make sure that we had a plan to keep it super updated. Also, he's going to have a subscription option for a couple of bucks a month, which is saving armies, and that allows him to spend more time working on it, and us from our side working on it. So
if you want to throw a little bit just to support, it's
that's why we're doing the sub model now. So instead of it being so it's free for those that just want to go in and use it. Everything will be updated. Everything's there on the free option. The subs option allows you to save options, and it looks prettier, and it means that over time we're going to keep developing that, so that there is more stuff behind there. But it's just around the corner, later than we wanted it to be, but we also wanted it to be right. We got it out to the Masters guys about a month ago to beta test it, and they needed to be. So apologies, it's a couple of months later than we wanted it to be, but it's a good looking thing now.
Fantastic. Let me have a look. So Glenn asking if there's any The Walking Dead news.
Yes, there's a lot. I mean, I think did we miss that question? Are my dwarves painted? I mean, they're 3,000 points.
Cheeky.
And if you're gonna pull me, what was that video you did before Christmas?
The road to, so obviously you never watched my videos, so I'm insulted as well as you.
Exactly. How dare you?
How dare? Ronnie's dwarfs are completed. You can check them out on the YouTube.
Not completed, never completed.
Never completed.
The world ends.
But
And that's why the coronavirus, I'm too close to it.
Gotta start fresh.
So there is still, coronavirus go away, there is still the Mastiffs regiment. So I can't finish that. I've always got to have one unit.
Well over 2,000.
Correct. Heading towards 3. So that's good, and I'm working on that. I'm kind of getting an urge to sort out my gaming table.
Ooh.
You know, I've got those little Vanguard objectives, and we've got all the terrain crates stuff, and it's like that I was saying about you don't start painting an army until you can paint all of it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to now go and do a whole gaming table. All painted the same way, all in the same stuff.
We have some really nice gaming tables here at headquarters.
They're lovely.
They are really nice things.
Inspiring me to set it all up and have that. So that's kind of a project.
Fantastic. Twilight Kin, I know it's a little scribble there.
There was a question about are they coming in 2020? The answer is no, they're not in 2020. We're looking at them, as you know. We've kind of pulled back from them, but they aren't on the list at the moment. So they're in the longer term, the longer grass.
I'm struggling getting through it.
Yeah.
So it was. The question was there any plans for Twilight Kin in 2020 for Kings War Vanguard? Obviously, yeah. And also Pond Wardens from League of Infamy. Obviously, they've been shown absolutely amazing sculpts. Any plans for them to come to Kings of War or Vanguard in a supplement like Clash of Kings?
So obviously, League of Infamy plastics are all Kings of War and Vanguard plastics as well. So the pledge manager's now open. So if you want to jump on there and go and fill your boots with some toys, of course, the plan is that these are sculpts that predominantly will almost end up as a Vanguard faction.
Yep.
So you're going to see those Vanguard factions rolling out, which are lovely. That gives you that range there. But there's also, of course, some of these skulls. The Pond Wardens are perfect models to put into the Kings of War armies and Vanguard options and everything else. So absolutely, all this stuff meshes together and the becomes the sum of the parts. So keep watching this space, and if you've backed Vanguard, if you back League of Infamy, you'll feel very smug when you get your models and you can roll them straight into various games.
Go see some very nice some warbands.
And some of them might not be out for 6 or 9 months.
Yeah,
because we're not just going to put all 3 warbands out in the first month. Yeah. They'll fit into the release schedule, but you'll have the models. You can have them painted, and they can be on your gaming table as soon as the rules hit, and we'll probably get some
fantastic
working rules going straight up pretty quick.
I'm going to butcher all pronunciation. Will the Halter half-track trailer upgrade get a model? Is that right?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw this one a little wider in terms of what love is Deadzone.
Yeah,
Warpath getting so. Asterians in the summer. I know I'm supposed to have said that. That might be a leak.
I mean, that's why you're here.
That's why I don't know what I'm supposed to say and what I'm not supposed to say.
Neither do I. That's the worst bit.
So, the press officer is. But yeah, so, I mean, obviously, Deadzone is just super strong. People love it. People pick it up. And it is just a phenomenal, tight skirmish game that genuinely is 3D and is playable. In an hour and a half, you get your figures down and you have a cracking game and it's good fun. So, we're popping in. We're going to try and get as many of the missing minis that have been out, things like Murder Birds. We're going to try and get those back on the release schedule because they're clamoured for. But we've also got some new sculpts with the Asterians coming in and kind of setting the balance going.
Which I've had the pleasure of seeing, and
it's sexy, isn't it?
I'm holding back, but yeah.
No, it looks great. So they're going to be hitting. We're also doing some working on Firefight 2.0. Which is far more of a stepping stone from Deadzone straight into the next stage, which we felt that Firefight is the next step that people want to go to. I want to use some tanks. I want to squad up my troops, but it didn't feel like a natural progression from Deadzone. So, chatting about that yesterday actually, and it does feel exciting and it does feel right, but coming back to the alignment. So. We're working on that, and that seems to be lining up. And at that point, it unlocks, the vehicles and all those other bits and bobs we've got. So, Deadzone, chunking along, Firefight. Let's see if we can get that going and see where we can take it. So,
for some underlining plans.
Yeah. As for the Halter per se, no idea. I don't think there's anything sculpted, but that specific question, I don't think so. Sorry.
Okay.
But if we have got it sculpted, then we'll try and get it out.
Okay. What have you got on the list? I jumped around, and of course, Facebook decided to close my page. Which
there
is
you go.
fantastic.
You were just about to start talking about that. That was the last question you asked, I think.
It was. I got a general question, which was ask Ronnie about The Walking Dead and any upcoming things. So nice and open to let loose.
Well, I mean, The Walking Dead, as everyone knows, is one of my favourite little skirmish games. I think it's great fun, and we've now got. You can play it any one of three ways. The minis work from each, but you've got the Here's Negan board game.
Yep.
We've got the main all-out war. Play the scenarios, relive it. Scenario-driven narrative play. And we've got Call to Arms, which is the skirmish war game, where you're tooled up. The zombies are still a threat, but they're not as much of a threat as the guys with the AK-47.
Yeah. Most deadly people in the apocalypse are other humans.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. So everything now comes out with cards for both. We've got, I think, coming up in April, whole slew of great releases. We've got Jesus. These are all now in resin. Beautifully hand-cast in resin, very neat and tidy. They were the Maggie and Glenn on horseback, very, very popular. So Jesus is coming. We've got, and he's coming along with the unique zombie. So we've got some one-off add-on zombies coming in there now. We've got cool little variant.
Those people that love collecting the zombies. So.
Well, exactly. And so we mix some of those back in. Aaron and Eric, and each of these comes with cards for both All Out War and Call to Arms.
Great.
So you've got your War Games card and your All Out War card, plus equipment cards as relevant, and so on and so forth. So there's all of that. Aaron and Eric are coming out as a pack. We've got Rick, the Alexander leader, who's also hitting another zombie, I think. We've got Heath and Spencer.
Cool.
And then we've got Maggie, Hilltop leader, with a grown-up Sophia. Because into the TV series and the comic, Sophia did live. She didn't die in a barn. So Maggie, she looks awesome. She's the Hilltop leader. Rick is the Alexander leader, which is kind of the final Rick as well. Yeah. So you've got some leader figures, Call to Arms and All Out War. Here they are. I mean, Rick's in pieces by this point, missing all manner of parts of his body. And then the show exclusive, which is super sexy, is Ezekiel.
Oh, there we go.
And for those readers of the comic and even the TV series, there is his extra is, well, no spoilers, but there's some spikes and there's some heads on it.
Okay.
So you might recognise some of those heads. So a lot of fun there. That's the show exclusive. It's going to be at Adepticon in a couple of weeks, and then at Salute, and then at the other shows.
So a lot of stuff for Walking Dead.
Yeah, no, we've got some. It's the next phase in the storyline. Alexander, Hilltop, these will be coming. It also works with Call to Arms, where you can build your squads up. So there's new army lists there. Very nice. Is in the summer. We've got a big all-out war book coming. We're just working on a title at the moment, but some kind of omnibus compendium. We can't use omnibus because there's comics with that name. Right. But a kind of generals compendium is where we're getting to, but there's no generals. But you know what I mean. A big book of everything. Whole load of new scenarios covering all this raft of time. Followed up with, I think there's going to be scenarios when Rick cleaned out the prison.
Okay.
Using the Here's Negan rules. So you use those tiles.
Yeah.
So, and that was originally when we first were designing the plan, we were going to go with the prison, but we felt it had been done, and actually creating that cool IP and putting Negan's gang out was a kind of cooler way of doing it. So you're going to be able to take your models from, Tyrese and Rick, as was, and the prison guys, and do some scenarios there. A lot of fun, including the one where Tyrese kills all the zombies in the room. I think that's a very cool one. And a couple of new scenarios for Call to Arms. So there were 6 in the book, or 10 in the book. There's more of those. So book covering all The Walking Dead. Really cool. Something for everybody. Lots of narrative. So very excited about that. That's coming out late summer, I think. And I'm definitely leaked that. Wasn't supposed to be talking about it. There we are. And I think the Walkers, the Whisperers, are on the sculpting table as we speak.
Okay.
So
we're lucky this isn't live or anything. So
yeah, exactly. You can edit it.
We'll fix it in post.
Bleep.
Wait, what? So yeah, absolutely ton of Walking Dead stuff. While I'm thinking about it, there was one question on Instagram that we can quickly answer and nip in the bud, because someone was asking about Daryl. Obviously, that's a product of the TV show. Correct. We don't own the rights to Daryl. as much as we think he's cool, that's not something we can bring to. We get all the cool people and scenarios from the graphic novel, from the source.
Yeah, exactly. That was one that was invented for the TV show, and that's outside of our license, unfortunately. So,
but I thought quickly jumping on that.
Great conversions into them, and then with the plastics, it's not hard to chop and change. So those that want to, I'm sure there's a few knocking out there.
Blackjack Legacy commenting saying, "Call The Walking Dead, but the survival guide."
Oh, survival guide. That's a nice idea. There might be, unfortunately, a comic called. There might have been one, but if there isn't, that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Blackjack.
All the Walking Dead stuff.
I think we're about there on that, aren't we?
I'm just having a little glance. Any plans to update historical to version 3?
What we're now doing, we've had a fantastic launch with version 3. It's done well. We're really pleased with the launch. As we've talked about the plans of supporting it. Matt and I are now looking at we know this year it's going to be the summer book and then Clash of Kings 2021. We're now planning what should we do in 21 summer, 22 summer.
Okay.
Always the Clash of Kings book is about the rules and making it tight and balancing. But the summer books are how do we keep making it exciting, and so things like Siege. As everyone knows, I love a big battle rather than a balanced battle. So big battles, how could we do something there? What could we have some fun with there? And of course, historical is one of those options as well, and it allows us to play with kingdoms of men and stuff. So all of those are in the melting pot, and we're rummaging. Can I say it's going to happen? Probably, but we don't have a plan for it. We don't have an idea for it, and it's how do we make it historical enough and fantasy enough that people love playing Romans against skeletons.
It gets talked about then, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely getting talked about on the agenda in the melting pot, and we're kind of planning out how we can theme things over the next couple of years to keep it fresh.
We've got Martin in the chat trying to shush you, but we're going to ignore him.
Don't say anything else, says Martin.
We can't see you. Sorry, Martin.
I've only got. I'm going to talk about those. I'm definitely going to talk about that. Can I talk about the? No. Okay.
No.
Good.
What's the next? So Pascal asking, League of Infamy and Dungeon Saga, will there be any compatibility between the two of them? Obviously, they're quite similar, dungeon crawling and.
Yeah, so I think you're able to port your Dungeon Saga stuff into League of Infamy. So I think if you back the Kickstarter, we've kind of got a book which gives you some stats and some things for some of your Dungeon Saga stuff to come in and play. League of Infamy is an evolution of Star Saga, which is an evolution of Dungeon Saga.
Yeah.
So you can't take League of Infamy stuff easily back into Dungeon Saga at the moment because we're not. That's not. It's the other way. It's the old stuff can come into the new game, and there's plans for some of that to be written out and stats and everything else, and you can use your models obviously. So there is thoughts about that.
Cool.
There was another question on Dungeon Saga, wasn't there?
Let me have a little scroll. I can't.
Second edition.
Oh yeah, there was talks about any plans for a second edition of Dungeon Saga, talking about quality of life improvements based on Star Saga. So is there any?
So I mean, it was something we discussed, and I think with League of Infamy we went, let's put a spin on it. Then instead of playing the goodies, you play the baddies, because there's a lot of those out. I do think, I mean, Dungeon Saga is a lovely game, and it trundles on for us, and that, Hero Quest X, kind of feel about a game, that kind of retrospective feel is lovely.
Yeah.
I do think, that was some of our first assembled plastics and some of our first board games. And so, is there plans? No. Would I like to see one? Yes. I think is the honest answer. Yeah. It's not on the release schedule for this year, I can tell you. We're concentrating on getting League of Infamy done and tooled and delivered and made and get that onto the shelves. And I think co-op playing, but as the bad guys, while the dungeon, instead of throwing you just baddies, is also throwing you like the urge to be utterly naughty. or not do the things that you're on the party to do is a real challenge. And I think when people play that game, they're going to see how much fun it is. You know, the laughter levels are high.
Oh yeah, everyone always starts off working together, and then you usually
slowly,
get the card.
yeah, they just think, I've got a choice to make, and you're incentivized to not make it in the best interest of everyone else, but entirely in the best interest of you. So we'll see how that does, see where that gets to. But you know, I think Dungeon Saga is an absolute stalwart of the the kind of board game genre, and so we'd love to see something at some point to pick it back up.
Okay, I'm just having a look. These are ones that have come in. League of Infamy, any ideas for more stuff or add-on options? So that more map tiles, more minion models. Because we hit our last planned target, I think, according to Rob.
Yes, I think that was the halfling,
the
big stompy,
big stonky Noah Steel Behemoth,
which was lovely. So I think we're fairly challenged getting out what we've got there. We've got 400% funded, knocked over all those targets. So I think pretty much you cleared the cupboard out on what we had.
Yeah.
So at the moment we'll get that out, get it fired out, and then see where it goes from there. I think. May well be that if we did a second edition DS, that could be compatible and play around with it there. But at the moment, we're kind of
want to get the stuff that we planned out so that you obviously get a hand on your shinies that you really want.
Yeah, exactly. And then that chunks out there.
I'm going to quickly check Instagram, and then I'm going to have a look.
Look on there as well.
Will there be a Clash of Kings for 3rd edition this year?
Clash of Kings book for 3rd edition.
Yeah.
Yes, there will. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, probably this one is the most important one, because obviously when you rebalance everything and rework everything, it's the first year is where you've really got to pay attention to make sure that we correct anything that's irritating or not fun or didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. I mean, heaven forbid, because obviously Matt Gilbert and the Rules Committee are perfect in every way.
Of course.
But when you're changing, and putting through a systemic change, an addition change, and really trying to correct it, invariably there's computations that put pressure. The War Machines is a topic that's being talked about. We don't want to overreact, but we want it to be fun to play. And there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're broken." There's others enjoying it's not there. We're looking at stuff like that, and that's what Clash of Kings really must make sure it does. We can put a stinging plaster on it, but I'd much rather let it see. We were up at the Masters the other week. I was there watching and seeing how people were playing and the army lists that were being. And
were you taking some notes?
Yeah. Stand at the back and shoot. That's what the dwarves do.
That's what we're very
not
good
this
at.
Moving nonsense. But there'll be a Clash of Kings, and probably I could say the first one of a new edition, I think, is probably the most important one.
Great,
because it's got to make sure that it's absolutely put to bed anything that's slightly off kilter.
Okay, I'm just gonna. There was only a couple from Instagram, and then I'll take a look at the YouTube comments that are live. So remember, if you listen to this on a Monday, get involved on the Friday stream so you can get the questions asked. We're making this bit of a longer one, but we'll get through these questions.
I told you never do half an hour.
I know. And then
longest too. Most viewed, most listened to.
One of the questions that I saw on Instagram and that I can quickly answer because I did ask was
just tell your boss that you're working very hard and you need your earphones in, and
you just you're concentrating dead hard.
Yeah.
How do
you American, get up out of bed, you lazy.
How do you get to work as an artist, etc. for Mantic? If you send your portfolio to support at Mantic, it will get sent to the right people. I notice when I'm looking at Instagram, there's stuff sent directly to me. It won't get seen. Just send it to support at Mantic, and Elvis can get it to the right people. But make sure you attach any portfolio. And Heresy and Horticulture, which I know is Johnny from the Warehouse. Will Man City ever win the league?
Again? Or the Champions League?
I'm the wrong football person.
Yeah, we're gonna this year easy.
So now I'm just gonna look at the YouTube.
I've picked up on one here, which was the collector's.
Is
there going to be a collector's edition of Ronnie or Blaine box? I'd love to do a Blaine box. We've been talking about that, where you get a nice little collection and put all your Blaines in and add the new ones as they come out. I think that'd be jolly good fun.
That'd be good fun. You like Blaine?
Yeah, and we're kind of doing some more of the collector stuff now. We've got resin in house. One of the things we've got for Hellboy coming up, there's a load of Hellboy releases in the next couple of months. We've got the one-off one print Hellboy in Mexico. So, and it's a really fun, light-hearted adventure. That and just the minis are just fantastic in it. And who doesn't want, Hellboy in a wrestling costume?
I'm currently doing the Hellboy Mexico teaser right now, and they're actually hilarious.
It's just great fun, isn't it? And we've got, I think, the BPRD, which is build your own adventures and some of that kind of things. We've also actually doing the busts. So we've taken in the Kickstarter, there was like a mini bust so you could have your order, and we've taken those, gave them back to Luigi, and he's blown them up and then put some more levels of detail on, and so it's just such a beautiful set of models that you can either buy just Hellboy by himself or all 6 of the main characters. So that's they're
too good to waste.
Yeah, they are. It's lovely. So we're having a little dip into the toe for those that love painting busts. They're also gaming pieces. You can just have them in your game order with all 6. So they're really who's at the front, if you're taking the damage and who acts there. So lovely pieces. They're going to come out, I think, April. I think they're getting done. So watch out for those. But they will be, part of that collector's range and the autograph range where we're going through that.
That's amazing. Right, between the two of us, we'll try and fire through these. When will you make Elven Archers great again? Kind of touched on League of Infamy, trying to if we bring stuff through to the other systems.
I think they mean that we nerfed elves. I'm feeling that the elves were nerfed in the Kings of War 3rd edition.
We don't want any pointy ears.
We'll if they're either pointed wrong or not quite tough enough, that's exactly what Clash of Kings is there to pick up on. And the RC do listen and do watch, and I think the feeling was at the end of 2nd edition, Shooty was a bit too tough. It was a bit unpleasant to play against. Has it been out? We'll be looking at it. We're watching it. We'll see what happens over the course of the year, and it'll wash out.
I'm squinting at a screen, by the way, so I'm gonna butcher it. Direct. When will Fisty Glueman return? You need to spam Rob for that, because he's the absolute meme master here. Basically, any weird ideas and videos that get sent, they usually come from Rob.
I heard his next crazy Bobby video.
Oh, yeah.
Is insanity on a massive scale. So, Fisty Glueman might be making an appearance on our special celebratory sculpt, which I think when I told them when I briefed it, they would just looked at me like I was insane.
They thought you were joking.
And I asked like 3 times, he's too busy. And I was like, no, it needs to be made. So watch out. We might have something kind of completely rent and insane coming.
You probably asked that as a joke. That was a serious, legitimate answer. Yeah. When all I want to know is when will we see the Halfmen for Vanguard with a proper list of models beside the one from League of Infamy?
Oh, we see what?
Halfmen. The Halfmen. Halflings?
Halflings. May we refer the Honourable Speaker to the previous answer.
Yeah.
League of Infamy.
In talks. Good morning,
so
Ronnie.
If you tie together that League of Infamy has a lot of halflings in it, when would make sense for us to do Vanguard? And usually if you look at the Abyssal Dwarfs, you can kind of join the dots that Vanguard's precede a bit of Kings of War love.
Okay. Any undead news? We I think we touched on that in the last one. They get talked about. It's more just as we go through.
Should be some undead. You know what? I'll go and kick Matt Gilbert and say do some undead stuff. It's always popular. The zombie trolls were very popular. So yeah, more undead.
Just having a little scan. Hello, Mantic Games. Hello to you.
I like King John. I am a rock star. Thank you very much.
You honed in on that one.
Right, the only thing I can read.
Yeah. Will the base sizes of the League of Infamy models be correct for Vanguard and Kings of War?
I wasn't listening. I was reading just that line again. What does it say? Say again.
Will the League of Infamy models be correct size for Vanguard and Kings of War? The base sizes.
Of course. Base size.
Yeah.
If you backed and they're board game pieces, they might be on stone bases because that's that, but very easy to clip off and glue onto correct size bases if you need them for the League of Infamy. So, yeah, don't quote me on that. When we launch them as a Vanguard faction,
we need that behind us. Don't quote me on that.
Don't quote me on that. Ronnie made that, but I think if they've come in as a board game piece, they're going to work perfectly for the board game, and I think that's sometimes the 25mm square textured base.
Okay.
So, but very easy to clip off and clip onto a normal size.
When will any plans for Night Stalker Butchers to be available to purchase individually?
I would check in that Night Stalker with the Soul Flayer and the Dread Fiend. That we are dipping back into those things.
Things get refined when we go back and look at.
Do you mean individually single, or do you mean individually as a regiment? I thought they were.
I imagine as a regiment.
Yeah, I thought they were.
Because they come in the army box, the Mega Army box, and you get I think a couple in the Vanguard boxes. I'll answer this next one. What's Crazy Bobby up to this time of year? He is resting. He's currently in a box wrapped in Mantic tape, and we only cut him out for Black Friday. So he's currently sleeping. Takes a lot of energy for him to make up all the crazy deals. But yeah, who knows? He might be appearing soon. But
so yeah, well, yes.
Yeah,
fast asleep in a box in the house. Don't let him. Could you imagine him running around here?
It would be more crazy.
Yeah.
Are we looking at any new licenses? The Walking Dead and Hellboy have both been very successful. Thank you very much for all the support with The Walking Dead and Hellboy. They're only successful because you show so much interest.
True.
But any new licenses?
Always talk about licenses, but they are hard to get. There's a lot more people interested in them now with Kickstarter. There's that. We only want to do something that we truly love.
Yeah, we don't do it just for the sake of it.
No, and so things that are going to be around for a while. I've got a serious legacy, something like Hellboy, where we love the comics. Walking Dead, we love the comics, and Walking Dead gave us a skirmish game. It was probably the only license really that had enough factions to really be lots of miniatures.
Yeah.
Hellboy was just kind of in the style of Dungeon Saga. Was that it was all about the visuals. Mignola's art, Mike's art is just that. There was a real correlation between the board game that we wanted to make, which was a bit more thematic than just than the straightforward dungeon crawler, but the visuals needed to go with it. It did that. So constantly chatting, constantly doing lots of work on it and talking, but they're hard to get to actually happen.
They take time.
They take time, and something that's going to be fun and relevant and around for a while. So yes, keep watching this space, and when we have something signed, sealed and delivered, we will tell you about it, and we'll get excited about it, and I'm sure and I hope you'll be excited too.
Of course.
Kings of War, 3 Butchers Regiment, unboxed. Oh, I don't know what unboxed means. Oh, yeah, okay. No, I thought that was it on eBay. Threes, so.
Kingdoms of Men, 2 questions that I'll try and put together. Asking about why I'm guessing why polearm troops were removed from Kings of Men army. That's I'm guessing the rules committee removed those for a certain reason. And will get named characters for Kingdoms of Men. Personally, I don't know.
Possibly come in something with like the historical. So if we did a historical, it'd be kind of Kingdoms of Men come. That's that whole conversation. So when we did 2nd edition, we didn't have Basileans out. We didn't have Northern Alliance out. In many ways, those are our human races, and obviously there's a whole area where we kind of let Kingdoms of Men live, and we've got plans to do more human-centric armies, Ophidia and things like that, where there's correlations between the humans, but they're tapping into the necromantic spells, but not in a bad way. So as we're starting to kind of define our world and where the humans live and the big powerful human blocks, the Kingdoms of Men becomes more of a gateway unit across, but they're going to become more marginalised, not less marginalised, if you want, until we say, okay, and then this is our Kingdoms of Men army. But I quite like the fact that people can bring in the Romans and can bring in their Vikings and everything else, but the Vikings are now Northern Alliance, and they've got a lot of fantasy theme about it, and so over time, the Basileans are central to the storyline. They're part of the Panithor legend and narrative. So Kingdoms of Men. That's a gateway. I think the fact they moved into Uncharted Empires, I think, is where they live now, doesn't it? It says that they are, dotted around and they live and you're welcome to bring them in, but they're not. Now, if we did a historical book, that's when I'd love to do some heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Set to them and say, look, let's use some plastics that's out there. Let's add some things to it to make it really, and then add those on and do something. But that's why it's not a let's just bash the historical book out. It's how can we make it some more.
And the final question, I'm guessing, how many hats have you lost? And how many hats are you planning to lose, basically?
So I've been pretty good with the hats, actually. People, people just nick them and then give them back.
You need to try harder, everyone.
Yeah. But I am. There is hats now being given away. You see, we've got this hat thing. So I took one down to CanCon. There's a Ronnie's CanCon hat, which went down to Australia. There was a fantastic tournament scene down there at CanCon. 74. I think 70 people playing. Really great tournament, really great. There's a lot of great hobby stuff going on in Oz. Lovely to see, and we visited a load of great trade accounts as well down there. Really good guys. So the hobby is doing well and growing. Fantastic. I left my hat there with the hat goes to the best painted Mantic army.
No pressure.
So and actually the chap that won it, an American guy, bought it off him. When I say bought it, the money was donated to the fire charity. That was the bushfire charity. So they were like, "You cool with that?" So of course I'm cool with it. What a fantastic! Who wouldn't be? So there was a very, very generous benefactor. And I don't want to get his name wrong. And I don't know if he wants to be revealed, but a very generous person gave a real substantial amount of money for that hat, and the money went to the bushfire charity in Oz. So well done to everybody involved. Great stuff. And then I took another one over to the Masters, to the US Masters last week, which was obviously, there were some beautiful prizes there where people have built a load of the artifacts, which if you hadn't seen, go and look on Kings of War Fanatics at those prizes, or US Masters. Amazing prizes, but of course none of them was as good as my red with white writing hat on. That was the Ronnie's Masters hat. That was really the big prize,
of course.
So that was one as well. So yeah, I've given 2 away. There's going to be one at Salute, so someone's going to have to come and give me a reason to drag that off me. I think there'll be one at Adepticon as well.
Gotta be.
So yeah, the hats are spreading around the world.
It's happening. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you everyone for asking all your questions. Of course, if there's a certain topic you want to hear, post it in the comments and get along to us. I think I'm planning on dragging Dave out for another lore session because I absolutely love it.
I'm going to set. We need 1,000 so that he got something to. So when's the cut off for these shares and views?
Cut off. I'm going to say Monday. I'm going to let the people over the weekend. We've got to let the Americans have a good go at it.
So what happens? So how do people watch you now after this?
So as soon as we hit stop streaming, this will be available as a VOD that you can watch anytime, and I'll be uploading this on Monday as soon as I've had my coffee to popular streaming podcast software. Okay. So your Spotify's, your everything else.
So what counts for this 400? Is that the live?
I'm gonna say the
podcast. Why was clear? I just want to beat him fair and square.
Well, if we're going for the Dave record, we're gonna go downloads on the podcast.
So downloads on the podcast. This is listening to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the record. So even if you watched it, just download it. Listen to it again on your way home when you're painting this weekend. Make it so.
But thank you very much for listening / watching and for all the support. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks everybody. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.